Welcome to the TUBCAST. We're here at last. It's going to be a beautiful night. I hope that your listening ears are on and your viewing eyeballs are viewing. That is, if you're watching. Unless you're listening, you might be listening. That's fine too. Whatever you're doing, I don't care. But we're here and you're there, wherever you're sitting. And then this is the world that we live in. My name is Eric, and as always, I'm joined by Kyle.
Hello.
And then Jeremy is here.
I care.
And also, Kuipers is back behind the scenes doing the things that he does with the diamond rings.
Getting us sodas.
Getting ladies across the street. You know, Kuipers is the type of gentleman who would take his suit jacket off and lay it in a puddle so your grandma can step in it.
Technically, you shouldn't be using the diamond rings to get the ladies, because then the ladies have been gotten for the wrong reason.
Nope.
The ring signifies that you've already gotten the lady.
Thank you for tipping.
Thank you.
Ooh.
I don't know what that was,
Whoever
but
that
thank
was.
you. Why didn't we see the thing?
We got a tip.
Who tipped us?
Someone named
Waiting.
Lechuga.
Lechuga! Thank you very, 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 very...
Ooga chuga. Ooga chuga.
Very,
No,
It
very
can't
wrong.
stop this
Jeremy.
feeling. No?
No,
Deep inside.
that's not how it works.
No.
What you do to me?
I forgot what it's like doing a show with Jeremy.
He has been gone.
You know the dancing baby, right? What was that from? Ally McBeal. No? Anyone? Just me?
No.
Ooga
I did not
chugga,
watch
ooga
Ally
chugga,
McBeal.
ooga chugga. But you know the dancing baby. It was a thing. The internet loved it.
Did it?
Oh my goodness. Eric, at least tell me you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Did it really love it, though? Lechuga King says, give me the bathwater.
He
in
just
all
gave
caps.
us more
Hooked on a
money.
feeling.
Kuipers. When
I don't know if that's the song that they played when
Yeah,
the
I don't
baby
think
danced.
I don't know
That
either.
is-
That's
Switch
like
to it.
I
This
love
is
how-
what I do.
I love how he made such a big stance about that song, and then
Well, the Ooga Chaka was that. I've moved on.
that was the same song that you were just singing.
that's not the song that the baby danced to, though. I don't think.
Should
No.
we find out?
Yeah.
Kuipers, get on that.
I'm
Fact
looking
check
it up
it.
now myself. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that you're right, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
That was a good way to start the show off, though. Thanks for the donation.
Yes.
We'll still
Yeah.
work on Kuipers. Hopefully, he'll eventually take a bath.
He's
kind
like
of
refused.
ripe right now.
I mean,
Now
Get
he
that
has-
midsummer
dangerous-
night
Is
sweat.
Ally McBeal still married to Harrison Ford?
yeah,
She is?
I think so.
Wow, lucky Harrison.
What?
I don't
That's a
know.
weird statement to make.
Well, that he's married. That's a good thing
I
to have a relationship with another human being.
don't... What?
Gives you someone to.
Yes,
know,
she
be
is still
intimate
married
with.
to Harrison
Still,
Ford.
are you still crushing on Ally McBeal in 2019, Jeremy?
He is, I think.
It's just like Harrison
She's 54,
Ford, right?
Jeremy.
Well, Harrison Ford is much older, I'm guessing. Although he'll never die.
Let's see.
I thought they've been married a lot longer than that. They've only been married for 9 years.
I don't have much volume. I'm going to turn all my volume up and see if I can hear what song this is.
After the ad's done.
Someone's just filming this. It is that song!
Somebody knows something. Deep inside.
You know what, Jeremy? You're the
Thank you.
biggest stinking liar I know on the face of the earth.
Why? What
You
did I
have
lie
had
about?
me convinced for most of our relationship that ever since your motorcycle accident, you have
Yes.
memory problems.
Here's the thing.
No.
No, this
no.
makes complete sense.
No.
You remembered
No.
which song
Here's why.
that the dumb baby danced to.
Here's why. Here's why.
And Ally
Nope.
McBeal in
There's
like
a valid
19
reason, Eric. It started in 97 through 2002. That was pre-accident.
Lechuga King
That's-
tipped another $1.
That
Thank
was
you.
That's
Thank
long-term
you,
memory, not
Lechuga.
short-term memory.
Jeremy,
I have a problem
Jeremy,
with short-term memory.
No,
loss.
see, here's
and
the
that's
thing,
long-term.
Jeremy.
It was pre-accident.
Thank you for tipping.
Thank you again.
Ooh-la.
Ah,
It's 'cause of the
oh.
Jeremy- Chakas, I
Jeremy,
know it is.
am convinced that you don't have
Alex,
as much of a
Welcome
problem
to the chat.
as you think that you do, and
The
you
fact
use that
that-
to
yeah.
just like things that you don't want to worry about. You just kind of are like, if I forget it, I can just tell them I got memory problems, and
I
no
don't-
one's gonna
I
call
don't-
me on it.
You know, it's not okay for you guys to make fun.
Yeah, see, there it is. There it is. There,
Capable.
yeah.
It's you guys make
Thank you
light
for
of something
tipping.
you don't know how to deal with. I get it.
We got another tip?
We've gotten like 4.
That's incredible.
LeChuga really wants Kuiper's bathwater.
I'm sorry, Lechuga. That's not a thing that we were prepared to offer. I really appreciate your donations to our cause. Like I said,
If I poured this water on Kuiper's
And then
but
collected it?
it would become that would become shower water if I poured it on him. If I put this into a cup and then he dipped his toes into
Thank
it,
you for tipping.
it would become bath water, right?
Probably.
And then we rebottle it, but it's grape flavored, so I don't know. That might
Grape-flavored
that might
Kuipers.
infuse the
Sorry
Kuiper
about that.
scent inappropriately. I don't know. Maybe fruitier than we're going for.
Alex E wants to know why he doesn't get tipped on the podcast he's on with me.
Oh.
It's not a live show, Alex. So
live
anything
shows
can
where
happen
that's
when it's live.
That's right.
if it was live, you might get a tip. Or
Ooh,
if you
good chocolate.
danced more. There's a lot going on this week.
Thank you for tipping.
All right, Lechuga King, we're not giving you bathwater. I know you have some sort of weird
Eric,
thing
calm
going.
yourself. He's still tipping, so
He's tipping to derail the show. That's what's happening.
You know what? I'm willing to accept that.
If this is
I
normally,
guess you do derail the show a lot, Jeremy.
if this show goes a little
do
around
too.
60 minutes and we get a tip every minute, then that's gonna be a good night.
That's a good
That's right.
night. Someone can go buy a video game.
I'm sorry, Lechuga, but maybe at what point, Kuipers, will you take a bath and send this man your water? It's so disgusting. Why are we even discussing this?
I have told him I take showers, not baths, and I have offered multiple times, but he insists on
I'm
bath
almost
water.
disturbed that you just are offering
See,
shower water.
the difference with shower water to bath water, right? Shower water, you get essence.
Thank you for tipping.
You get essence of Kuipers with shower water, right?
Okay.
You get infused.
Okay, stop. Stop.
Kuipers.
Nobody
with
wants to
bath
hear this
water,
description,
right?
Jeremy. Okay. What's everybody been up to this week? How's life
Showering.
been going?
Showering, Kuipers says. Well played, Kuipers. Well played.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
I'm
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've done anything this week. Just like regular work, life stuff.
No, that's a bummer.
Nothing new.
There was an update to Hitman 2 that I know no one else besides me is playing.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's another one of the sniper locations. This one,
Okay.
this time it's in the Arctic. It's pretty cool. Siberia,
So
exactly.
you're freezing. Well, you're trying to kill people.
It's
you're
in a Siberian prison.
Thank you for tipping.
So you're an ice cold killer.
Yes, you have to create a riot where people are
Thank
going
you-
to die.
Thank you
obviously,
for tipping again, sir.
so that you can cover up the assassinations. Anyway.
I have not got back into that game in a while.
I hit it. I hit it every couple of weeks. It's just a fun spend a half hour zoning out type thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get a Patreon level for bathwater for Kuiper's bathwater.
It's there. It's just you got to.
Okay, shut up about the hidden
There
level.
are no hidden levels.
All right.
No one's found it yet.
That's a interesting thing that you've played the game still. I haven't
Yeah.
played that.
I didn't go and get that
we
one
do-
when it came
There's
out.
like 4 days left on another Lucid
Thank you
Target
for
too.
tipping.
Has anybody else been doing anything cool
Just
other
been-
than
Just been
Hitmaning?
continuing to play through the Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
That's on the
on
Nintendo
the,
Switch.
On the Switch. It's a fun game. If you're a fan of Marvel, if you like those kind of top-down fighters where you switch between your characters, there's not a lot to it, but
What if
it's
you're
fun.
not a fan of
But
Marvel?
it's Marvel characters.
if you're not a fan of Marvel, you may not enjoy it.
Okay.
What
if you're a fan of Marvel, but you're not a fan of that type
video
of gameplay?
games. Oh.
then you might not be a fan of it either.
Oh, okay.
You're trying to figure out if you want to actually give it a try.
Alex in the chat would like you to know that one time in his life he was roommates with the guy in the middle.
That is true. That is
Hi,
that
guy
is
in
an
the middle.
accurate statement.
Yes,
I'm
Kyle.
the guy
Malcolm?
in the middle.
Kyle.
Yes, that's me.
Malcolm?
Yeah, that's my name, Malcolm. I'm in the middle.
Alex, would you like to share any stories of being roommates with the guy in the middle? Did he do anything weird? Like, did he talk in his
Probably.
sleep?
Did he ever dance like the
Who
baby?
knows?
Get over the
Oh, what
baby
is-
dancing.
I just have Uga Chaka in my head.
Kuipers, I think that's the next dance you need to learn just to satisfy Jeremy.
Is the animated baby dance
From Ally McBeal.
I went to a wedding.
Oh, you went to a wedding.
I did.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Whose wedding?
I was in the wedding.
Oh.
Actually.
Can you say whose wedding it
It
was?
was my brother, one of my brothers.
Okay.
Oh. How was it? Did they have good cake?
I had a cupcake. The frosting was better than the cake.
Did they have chocolate fountain?
No.
They have
No
a ranch,
chocolate
do they have a
fountain.
ranch dressing fountain?
No fountains.
How about a cheese fountain? No fountains. Okay.
What about a
So-
bathtub filled with cheese? I'm just kidding. We're not doing that again.
But I wore a bow tie.
okay.
I looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
My best man gift was a pair of cufflinks that say best
Classic.
man on them.
Classy.
Nice.
However, my shirt was not a cufflink.
It was short
shirt,
sleeve,
so
wasn't
I
it?
couldn't wear them.
Did you just get a safety pin or something and try to attach them?
I was trying to figure out a way to do it without, cutting a hole where the button is, but
Well, then those are
Didn't-
just your
didn't go with
shirt
it.
that you use.
It was a shirt I was told to get, so it's not my wedding,
Yeah.
obviously.
The only thing Alex felt comfortable sharing is that he thought he was much cooler than he really was, but they did not share bathwater,
Nope.
only showers. So there you go.
Shared showers.
They shared showers.
Yep.
Hey!
Yep.
That's good.
That's great. I
Sometimes
like
you
it.
need
You know what?
a friend to scrub your back.
That's
It's
economical. I mean, you're conserving
water.
Water. I mean, climate change should thank you. The Earth should thank you for
Yep.
sharing
Yep.
water. Obviously.
The Earth does thank you for sharing showers,
Right.
Kyle.
Right.
I love how uncommittal you are to even agreeing or disagreeing with this. What's being shared?
I mean, it's an accurate statement. He says this is way out of context, and he is correct. It is way out of context.
I mean, he gave us the context to form an
It's
opinion
true.
around.
It's true.
it's alternate. It's our context. It's alternate context.
Alternate
It's fine.
context
It's
here.
what- it's
Yeah,
what-
men in a tub.
yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, it's been good for you to go to a wedding, then, Jeremy. I'm glad that you gave.
And
did you walk
nobody's-
your brother?
Has anyone driven?
Did you walk your brother down the aisle?
No.
Isn't that what the best man does?
No, that's not how that works.
And then he says, "I do give you." And then it says
no,
that to
no,
the
that's
wife.
Not how that works.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Has anyone? This was in Pennsylvania. Has anyone driven
in
back roads,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania,
So
in their
your
life?
brother's Amish?
No.
He's a Hutterite.
He is near the area in which they reside, and they may love his urban gardening that he participates in. So,
Urban gardening.
yes.
What kind of gardening does he do?
He's turned his entire backyard of his in-town plot into a garden. He's got, in fact, for the wedding reception, all the lettuce, carrots, cucumbers, all the veggies for the most part, not 100% of the veggies, but most of the veggies were part of that. He's got like 25 chickens that wander his backyard that produce eggs. He's created his own chicken coop that's attached to the side of his house. That's a little bit weird, but it's Pennsylvania. He has a greenhouse with a bunch of tomatoes and other stuff in it.
See, that's way less nefarious than I think you led me to believe originally.
Urban gardening is nefarious?
I don't know. The way that you kind of said it, like
Oh, Kyle thought he had a
urban gardening. I thought he
had
had
a
like
pot
some
farm or
green
something.
stuff
Oh.
that he was
No,
on the down
that's
low.
basement gardening. That's
Oh,
That's-
okay.
different.
I started to say pentatonics, but that's an a cappella group. What is it called when they do like the water-based plant?
Hydroponics?
Hydroponics. That's the
There
word
it
I
is.
was looking for. That's not pentatonics.
I gotta say,
Although some might argue you would need to be high to enjoy their music.
Let Sugar King-
I've lost my buttons.
I'm just
Lechuga
Join,
King,
cut
thank you.
Don't repeat what
Yeah,
he
he
said.
says every time Jeremy tells a story,
No.
y'all
Oh.
just look
Yeah,
so dead.
yeah. Don't read the other.
Oh,
one.
Yeah.
we all look so dead.
I
No,
mean,
we were just taking it all in. We didn't know. We never know where he's going. So if we have a facial expression that looks excited or happy or
We're
dubious,
processing.
Yeah, it's like, where's the punchline?
we know
Because
that.
sometimes there's not one.
Well,
and that is
or,
the punchline.
or the punchline is inappropriate, and if we laugh, we incriminate ourselves.
It's
Yes.
true.
And so we try to keep a straight face until he's done,
Or
and then
he
we can.
or he just tells a story about how he was at a hotel and there was a beauty pageant that was going on in the hotel, and the husbands had to be there.
That people can watch that show from a few weeks.
I mean, that was literally the story, though. I just retold
yeah,
it.
why did you ruined it? Obviously, it wasn't nearly as good told by you.
Yeah,
I will
some would
say when
argue
I
it
was there,
better.
I got a rental car and
Mm-hmm.
they gave me a Jeep.
Okay.
That's not a rental car. That's a rental Jeep.
Where-
Thank you,
all right.
Kyle.
All right.
Sorry.
vehicle.
I had to.
Let
I had to-
him. Let
No,
him finish
the interesting
story.
thing about getting a Jeep is kind of nice to drive. and
Mhm.
They're kind of
Mhm.
weird. They're different. But like we're talking like the Jeep Wrangler, hardtop comes off, all
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Did you take the top
The
off?
fancy ones, no, because I had nowhere to store it, obviously, because the hotel
Just
front desk
take that
would
up and
probably
you-
wouldn't have been okay with it. Take it up to my room.
Go back. yeah,
Excuse
back-
me.
Yeah.
No, the interesting thing was Jeep owners are like
Weird.
they're like a clan.
They're a cult.
almost. A cult, yeah.
They're a cult.
Because to tell you what, there's, and I'm sure there's probably other vehicles that are similar, right? But
I'm an expert in cults.
I'm
so.
driving down the road, right, and someone's coming towards me, and I see that they're in a Jeep, and every single time they're all like they're like, hey. I
Don't
know
you-
you
Jeremy,
wasted.
Trevor-
Look, you wasted
Jeremy,
a bunch of money too.
Trevor used to be on this show.
Jeremy.
You never talked to Trevor about Jeeps.
Jeremy,
He
I
owned a
have,
Jeep.
but
Hang
I'm
on,
just saying
Jeremy.
experiencing is different than hearing.
Jeremy, we rode in Trevor's Jeep for like 16 hours over the course of 3 days.
It's different on
A
the
couple years
highway
ago.
than like in town, and
But he
I'm
kept
just saying-
waving at people, and I kept asking him if he needed to
I
wave
know,
at that person.
but I'm saying it's
he
it's
completely
different.
forgot this trip that we
It's
went on.
different when you're the driver and you don't own the Jeep, and they're getting this, weird euphoric high and going, someone else wasted a bunch of money on a Jeep. I should say hi to them.
Isn't that like
And-
a tip? That's a typical experience for most people, though. It's not. You
That's
gained
very true.
perspective, Jeremy.
It's true
You
because
gained
they're
per-
like someone else is in the same boat as me, no matter how good or bad it is.
Yeah.
They understand
not a boat, it's a
where
Jeep.
I am. Yeah. Also, though, I stopped at a convenience store
Okay.
to get a pop, right?
Right.
So-
Get yourself a cold
Right,
pop.
and there's a lady probably in her 80s that's in the car parked
Ageist.
next to me.
Yeah.
No, I'm giving context
Okay,
here.
Okay.
we'll see.
For the
She was probably in her 70s.
65.
a lady of a certain age that's older than I.
Say it that way.
That sounds so much better.
Anyways, what about this lady?
No, I come out and I go to get in the Jeep, and she stops me and she's like, "Oh, that's a very nice car you have." And I'm like, and I kind of turn around and I wanted to be like, "It's a rental," but I was just like, "Thanks."
And then did you show her your ARP card?
No. No. I should keep one of those when I get them in the mail.
You'd be like, I'll take you out for pancakes. I'll pay for it with my
How old
Diners
How old
Club.
you gotta be for AARP?
I don't know. What,
Like
how old are
40?
you?
That's why I was wondering. Kuipers, let me know if I
got
qualify.
I got an ARP letter in the mail.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's weird.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago.
That was a Jeremy story.
That's cool.
That was a good card. I have not gotten one in the mail.
I'm sorry.
You're lucky, Jeremy. You got still, or it's age 50.
Oh man, I got
50.
10 years to
Okay.
go.
Okay.
Hey, but my younger brother's wife is old enough for one.
His new wife?
His wife is old enough.
The one that he just
for
got
a-
married to?
Yeah.
And he's younger than you.
Yeah.
Wait, are you
What?
saying that your younger brother married the senior citizen?
I think
Wait,
that's
no,
what he
I
just
think
said.
is AARP mean you're a senior citizen?
It means you're 50
Because
or
I
older.
think to get the senior discounts at places, you got to be like 62. Or
it means you're
something.
50 or older.
Oh, then yeah. I
Because
guess
that's
she would,
isn't that right,
I guess
Kuipers?
she would
That's
qualify.
Isn't it weird how when
She
you're
was a
55 or
nice
older.
lady.
Oh, 55
I'm
or
not
older.
trying to make
Isn't
it
it
sound
weird
bad.
how when you're young, like you're a kid, and then it all happens again when you're old? Like think about it. Like you have to wear diapers,
You have to have
You-
someone take care of you.
You get an order off of a
maybe.
special menu
Yeah.
at the restaurant. Anyways, there's a senior discount. This week I watched the new season of Big Little Lies. Anybody watch that show?
No, I haven't.
What's it about, Eric?
It's on HBO.
It's about a lie that's
It's
really
about
big and
it's
little.
about these rich fancy wives in California who commit a crime and they have to cover it up, and that's all. It's fine. I don't know. I just want to bring it up, see if anybody else watched it. Nobody did. I started watching the last season of Orange is the New Black. That show they sprinkle it with enough real life issues in the prison system that it just ends up making me very upset, and I want to become like a prison activist by the time I'm done watching it. But this year they're dealing.
They should totally let a lot of people out of prison.
This year they're dealing with ICE and like the immigration thing, and like I'm not.
Timely.
I know that it's fictional. It's a story, whatever. But you know that there is enough truth behind the fiction that it's like upsetting when you realize that they're the way that they treat these immigrants.
So is this like
and
season 2?
This is
or-
season 7 or 8.
Okay.
It's the last one.
What was last season? Was it like
It's about
marijuana drug offenses?
Well, no, it's about women's prison, and
Oh.
it starts out like most of the show goes through like a smaller like independently funded prison that they're in, and then they move to a bigger government funded prison.
Okay,
and
but
then
it's real or not real?
it's all fictional.
All fictional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all fictional, but it's like a lot of the storylines I think kind of come from the headlines that you see about prison and
Sure.
that sort of stuff. And
I
it's
think
just
I watched like a season of it.
yeah, it's crazy like to think how like these people are just like they're in a system that I mean, obviously, yes, they messed up, but they're in a system that just doesn't allow them to I guess grow or get better or
Right.
get out or like it just I don't know, it's very oppressive. Anyways, it's a good show. I mean, it's an okay show. I don't know what I want to say about it. It's a show.
Because it's
That you
over,
watch.
right?
It's not. I mean, this is the last season, yeah, and I haven't finished it, but it's.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It's like one of those things where you kind of get stuck to characters and you want to see where they end up, and
Right.
I don't know. But prison seems bad. But I did have one big announcement to make. I tweeted about this last night. I started playing a game last night.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't expect to start playing.
You did. I saw it.
But
I saw you were playing it.
Was it Twister?
no, it was on the Nintendo Switch. It's a Nintendo game. They made it. It's called Fire Emblem Three Houses, not Four Houses. 3 houses.
There's only 3 of the houses.
I think there's gonna be 4 houses and there's
Is this
3
a
houses.
full featured?
Yeah, this is
game,
a big.
meaning
This is a big
$50?
big boy game.
Yeah, it's a big boy game.
Okay.
It's got all the things. It's got all
RPG,
the
right?
waifus.
Is it
Yeah, it's a.
Like-
Huh?
Not like a Skyrim
Not
type
entirely.
RPG.
What?
Like he's asking if it's an RPG. Like
Right.
it's more strategy
It's
than
strategy.
RPG, with like
It's RPG.
elements of RPG, I'd say, but primarily
Okay.
strategy.
Yeah. No, it's got so. Okay, I'm gonna try to pace myself, and I'm not gonna go long on this, but I have to just. I've only played a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I had to choose like so. You start. You pick your character, male, female, kind of thing. You name them. They throw you into a battle pretty early on, so you kind of learn the combat system. It's turn-based tactics. Then they send you. You go to a school where you are suddenly a teacher, professor at this university, I guess, or
Like
whatever
Xavier.
it's called. And then where it gets real hot and heavy, you have to choose a house, one of the aforementioned 3 houses. So I'm gonna. I don't know.
Is it like as difficult a decision as picking your first Pokemon?
Yes.
So this
I'd
is
say
like
more so
this is
even.
More,
this is
yeah.
like
More.
that show on that Fixer Up one where like they fix your house or they give you 2 other
jeez.
houses
Yeah.
that are complete, and then you got to
Just
pick
like-
which one you're like.
Yeah. Am
Which
I gonna?
one are you gonna fix
Are you?
up?
Am
right?
I gonna buy the
Fix
one
it
that's
or
already
flip it,
the
right?
one that's already done and ready to move into,
Right.
or the one where I need to invest some money?
Yeah,
Or the
but you
one
pay
that's-
less for it. But
No. These
No.
houses are like clans or
Like Harry Potter
Oh.
houses.
or like yeah. So like you've got I had to look up my tweet because I couldn't remember. You got the black eagles, the blue lions, or the golden deer, and those are your 3 choices, and they all have kind of their own like different things that are going for them, different advantages, different.
beliefs.
Yeah. And so I made a choice. It was really difficult. You have to go around and talk to all the potential students and get a kind of a vibe for who they are. And so really there's this big part of the game that's just this weird, like almost social simulator in a way, where you're like a teacher and you're a friend of the students, and you can eat with them in the cafeteria, and you can go fishing.
Sims.
You can go and garden, but really at the core of it is it's all about war. Because you got to fight in this war.
Thank you for subbing.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Arcadia,
Jeremy, for subbing.
Sorry.
He's real interested in your explanation of this game.
No, he's bored. But
I saw it and I clicked on it because that gives us $5, folks.
yeah, if you have
Great.
If you have Amazon Prime, you could give us $5 for free too. Yeah. No, but so you make these choices, and I'm just getting into it. But the game is so like, I don't know. I can't tell if it's taking itself seriously or if it's making jokes at its own expense, or like
It's probably a little of both.
like one of the first questions I get asked is, what were you dreaming of? And then I have to choose war or a young lady. And like,
you obviously selected
and
war.
And I was just, it's such
Obviously.
like, there's just weird.
Hard-boiled eggs, was that an option?
It's just got these weird choices in it that make me like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what a lot of the stuff means. I don't know what I'm doing. I just jumped into this game and I feel kind of lost and scared. But Kuipers, which house did you choose?
I went with the Golden Deer.
Oh, my man. Yeah.
You were
you guys
Golden Deer
clan
as well?
buddies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the
I have
deal.
not
So
picked
is
a
this
house.
game fun? Is it worth spending money on? I need
Jeremy,
to know.
I don't think that it would be a game that you
I would
enjoy.
love to just watch a Twitch channel where Jeremy played this game forever.
What is so? Why do
feel
you
like
think I
there's-
wouldn't play
no,
the game?
here's-
I think
need
you
to
would
know.
play it, and I think you might like. There's a 50-50 chance here. You either are gonna hate it more than anything, or you might just like secretly get super sucked in and not
Now
want
I
to
have
admit.
to find gameplay.
Yeah, that you like it.
It's
What's it called again? Three Houses.
Fire Emblem
Three
3
Houses.
So here's the thing: the Black
That's a
Eagles
weird name.
and the Blue Islands, the Blue Lions, they're both like, they're just so super serious. And like, I like that the Golden Deer guy's kind of a jerk in a weird like way, and he's very like not taking his job seriously or his role. He's making jokes, and I'm like, I just can't, in good conscience, go with these other pretentious houses. And like, then you meet all the people in their house, and like the golden deer, like I kind of hate that name even. Like, it's lame. Deer are kind of lame.
Are they the ones in the yellow outfit?
Yeah, and
That
yellow's
would be
a lame
gold.
color too.
So wait. So
but I still,
Jeremy, instead of finding gameplay to decide if this would be a game that he would like, he went to Wikipedia.
listen, there's Golden Deer, Blue Lion, and Black Eagles, but they're yellow, blue, and red.
yeah, it's a little confusing, but
With it,
it's just easier to differentiate them on the battlefield.
it's a
So I
based on that, I'm picking the
he's not gonna play
the Black Eagles because they're not wearing their color. I don't know.
So I chose the other. Like I said, I chose the Golden Deer. They're kind of a mismatched gang of hooligans, and I like them. And they also have the other thing that sold me on it, like it solidified it, is that a lot of their strengths are in archery, and I like having ranged attacks as an option in combat. So it was all around the package I wanted was the Golden Deer. I went with the Golden Deer. I know that on Twitter there's a lot of Black Eagles out there throwing shade at the Golden Deer, and I need you to
Because
just
they're deer.
I need
That
you to
means-
step off, okay?
That means you're the prey.
Right, if you're a Black Eagle out there and you're hating on Kuipers and I's clan,
you
like
picked
our house,
the name of a prey.
like I need you to
Like,
back off because we're gonna
you eat
come
foliage.
we're gonna come and eat your breakfast, okay? Or whatever phrase we would say. I don't know. Eat your
They're
lunch.
trying to eat breakfast.
We'll eat your lunch.
Been waiting to use that button for a while.
It's been a while. No, so anyways, I've done some things. I just started before I had to leave my house tonight. I just started the mock battle that I was doing as training for my students. But there's so much to this game. There's so many like levels and gauges and things, and I don't know, there's magic and all this other stuff. I don't even know. I can't even keep track of it all. But then you have like your professor level, and that goes up. And the more you do activities with your students, that goes up. Sometimes it's a little creepy, and I feel like he's flirting with students, and I don't like that. But then it seems like
he's
it's
a
okay.
golden deer.
Well, I wasn't. I am now. I'm a professor of the golden deer.
Professor
like,
of the
I'm
golden
teaching
deer.
them.
He's teaching the golden deer of
And
tomorrow.
then, like, I've looked at, like, when I was watching the reviews, there's like this, you play through the game up into a point, and then there's this whole second thing that happens where you progress, and there's a time jump, and like, then you're older and your students are older and all this other stuff. There's so much story. The story's different depending on which house you play with. It's fascinating to me. I don't know how deep I'm going to go into it, but I can't stop thinking about my job and
as a
professor, and that I need to eat lunch with people, and I need to catch a fish, and I had to get some seeds so I could plant them in a garden, so I could get this guy a vegetable that he wanted to make food out of, because he didn't have. I don't know. I'm stressed out, Kuipers. How do you have you played much of
The
it?
director
I'm still working on it.
Whoa.
The director confirms the game length is over 200 hours.
I think that's if you play all, or no, it's like 80 hours to finish, isn't it? One playthrough.
I think so, yeah.
But maybe he's saying like
But you
if you
gotta
try
play
to
all
play
three.
through all three houses, you could. Yeah.
I have not played it much yet because I'm still working on I want
Builders?
to finish Builders 2.
Oh, I thought you were going
I'm
to
on
say
the third
Skyrim.
island, but
Oh.
Yeah, one house looks to be 80 hours.
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know. Maybe it's gotten really good reviews out there. A lot of people are talking about it. It's not the type, like, I like the tactical side of it. That stuff is fun to me. I like games like that. But I also feel like what they've done is kind of added all this distraction in there for you. So it kind of breaks up the battle. So you like have a battle, and then you have a whole calendar of things that you have to do, and then you have a day off of the week, and that's when you get to go around the campus and talk to people and fish and do all that sort of stuff. I don't know. It seems really great. I don't know why. I never thought I would be a Fire Emblem person, but it seems really great.
No, but I mean, there's a distinct level of like the way that's it's Japan, right? That's where
Nintendo is.
Okay, that's right. I was wanting to make sure I had that right.
Wait, unless you're a Fox News correspondent where you say, well, gun violence is low in Japan because they don't have video games.
We'll get there in a moment.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun.
But no, I mean, like, I think that there are a lot of games that are built in a very specific way that are like Japanese that I just don't really get into. That like the game itself just doesn't appeal to me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Thinking of like the JRPGs, this type of game, the Yakuza. Like near.
Oh, let me say real quick. Well, finish your thought. But I will say the other thing that really won me over as well is that it's all voiced dialogue. So if like
voice acting,
yeah. So
Okay,
like,
cool.
I don't have to be dependent on reading everything, which is a
Nice.
big like. I still read it and I'll skip sometimes because the voice acting is kind of drawn out. But it's just so nice for me. I'm much more of like a visual like.
Right.
You know, I'm an audio visual like learner, so like
Right.
I just can, I don't know, I absorb the content better that way when they speak to me. Anyways, go ahead.
Gotcha. Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's like I think with the initial thought of Jeremy, like maybe playing it or whatnot, it seems like it's a game that Jeremy would like not be gravitated toward, kind of like me. And then you and Kuipers both seem to be.
I mean, I looked
seem
at
to
the art
gravitate-
style, and that's when I was like, maybe not.
there is a very distinct art style.
I was like, I get why
those
Kuipers
types of
likes it.
games. Yeah.
I will also say
I
though,
think that you and Kuipers definitely gravitate more towards those than I think I do and Jeremy does.
I will say that the one thing that they do really well is that since it's on the Switch and it's not like a very powerful machine, the art style they have chosen is just really complimentary to the game. Like, I mean, it has a very animated anime art style, but it's cool how the environments have kind of a more realistic art design to them, and then the characters are more comic strip looking.
Sure.
And so, like, the two things combined, it makes the game run smooth and it looks nice. And anyways, yeah, it is very anime though. There's literal like anime cutscenes in it, which
Awesome.
make it even better.
Welcome to the
Question
chat. Not a Chev.
Yeah.
mark? That's good.
It's Henry Ford.
No, it's not a Chev.
I know, it's Henry Ford.
Yeah,
mean,
not a Chevrolet.
He told us.
Not a Chevrolet. I get it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the chat. Yeet to you as well.
Is that the end of your game story?
That's all I wanted to say.
I have another story I thought of, guys.
Oh boy.
Okay, was this one in a hotel too?
No.
Oh, okay.
So
It's the lobby.
while at the wedding last week,
Okay.
I spoke with another one of my brothers that I don't really speak to that much. Anyway, he was telling me that he started looking into like our family history and did like a DNA test and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's interesting. So found out that I'm not who I thought I was.
Oh boy.
Like ancestral.
Oh boy.
Right?
What's your ancestry?
Okay, so what we
famous
thought
person is it that you?
what we
that
thought
you're
was on
related
my mother's side is mostly Norwegian, which is accurate, and some Native American and some other Northern Europe nations. And then on my father's side, we thought it was mostly German. That's like the story was there was these 7 German brothers who came over to the new country, and
That's
blah,
my
blah,
favorite
blah.
play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Seven German brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had 7 brides that they kidnapped, right?
What?
7
Yeah.
brides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, come to find out, not true at all. It goes back to one guy who was the first recorded born in the United States of that lineage, if you will, in 1815 in New York City. His name was Nathan Holt. And
good old Nate Holt.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, come to find out, we have very little German in us.
That makes sense. You don't look German.
Yeah. So, again, mother's side, mostly Norwegian. Father's side, Holt is actually a Old English name.
Okay.
Oh,
So
like the body wash and the cologne?
Yes. So I smell like that.
Oh wait, that's Old Spice, not Old English.
There you go. No, so on my father's side, it's mostly English with some Irish, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Is that why you said that with a little bit of a flair?
Did I?
Earlier?
I don't think I did. I don't know.
Sorry.
Ooh.
Jeremy, do we need
But
to
anyway,
have...
so that means I always was like, I'm not going to wear green, 'cause, on St. Patty's Day because I'm not Irish, even though I know it's not technically an Irish, holiday.
So now
whatever.
you are Irish, so now you have
So
to
now
wear
I am.
green.
So now I feel like I have to, right? So someone better remind me of that next year. That's all I'm saying.
Great.
Something tells me you'll remember.
Probably because
That'll
it's
be one
just
thing
so
you'll
unique.
remember.
Yeah. You guys
I can't wait for you to start like really embracing your Irish heritage, Jeremy.
Yes. I'm gonna wear a kilt.
That's what I was getting at.
Is that?
You can make
does
that
it
your
mean-
thing.
Wouldn't that be more Scottish?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You should start talking with an Irish accent, though.
All right. Do we have anything else, or should we jump into the newsies? Kyle, did you have anything you wanted to say? So you kind of talked about the one game.
Yeah, I mean, I've just really only played Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I played a little more of Wolfenstein. It's fine. It's not anything like it's not any grand revision on the series or anything like that. But if it's fine.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's fine. Minitub gives it. It's fine out of it's fine.
It's fine out of it's fine. No, it's fun. I mean, it's
fun. That's great.
It's a shooter. Like
it's
it's
fun.
a shooter where you take out Nazis. There's enjoyment to be found in that.
Jeremy, you were playing that, weren't you?
Yeah, I spent more time in the in-game arcade playing the original.
So did I.
Two
I played a
Wolfenstein.
lot of that.
I played through both of them.
You weren't here last week, but I said that was better than the actual game.
There was so much nostalgia for me in playing through that, remembering the different levels.
Did you finish it?
And yeah, of course.
Youngblood? The whole game?
Oh no! I finished the original Wolfenstein in the arcade on Youngblood.
That's how bad that game is.
And I'll be honest.
Just saying.
When I beat
It's not-
when I beat those levels, I stopped playing that game.
Yeah, that game. I don't know. It's all right. Like Kyle, I'll give you. That's the most
It's
I'm
a
willing
shooter.
to give it.
It's a shooter.
Okay. Not a good
Yeah.
one. But I mean, the problem is,
it's still
Wolfenstein 1 and 2. Those stories were so outrageous
Right.
and crazy, and
They
they
were
went over the
great
top.
stories.
And then this one's just like, we put co-op in it. We
I
don't
don't
need to
yeah,
worry
there's
about
not
the story.
really a story there. It just
Yeah.
feels like I'm out doing missions.
Oh,
and
hey, by
maybe
the-
I'll find my dad.
By the way, your dad killed Hitler. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
he's a cool dude.
I don't know.
Wait,
Anyways.
is that something that's revealed in this game? that
like in
hadn't
the
been?
first like 20 minutes of the game? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They kept talking about B.J. Blazkowicz, the man who killed Hitler.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's like, well,
also
does
killed
it-
a snake.
I mean, I don't get to do it. Anyways.
I did in Wolfenstein 2.
All right. Now it's time for the show to suck. Our first story.
Should I get another beverage
no.
before we start this?
You're good.
I'm scared.
Don't have one strong enough, Kyle.
You're right.
There's been a lot going on this week. A lot of sucky stuff. A lot of not fun things. Related to gun violence. And our condolences to families affected by all this stuff. I don't.
Real.
There's nothing
Yeah.
that we can say that makes it any better. So I just want to at least seem like we're respectful and not just we're just going to talk about this for our show and we're cool.
I don't know of anyone who's pro gun violence, so let's just obviously that's a bad thing.
Who
so.
said that?
No,
they
I'm just
were?
saying like people can disagree on how to.
Are we? What are
Where
you?
to go
I don't-
forward.
I don't
Where
know
are you
with this
going?
right now.
I don't
No,
know.
I'm just saying.
You're just saying
gun violence is bad. and
Yeah,
everyone
nobody.
agrees to that.
Obviously,
Obviously.
Captain Obvious Man.
Wow.
Anyways, this isn't a topic that we probably talk about really on this show, except for this. The conversation keeps revolving around video games.
It's like we're in a time warp.
It's
and
Jack
we're like-
Thompson here.
We're like 20 years ago.
How many times do you know?
And so I think it's just one of those things where I was like debating about it this week. Do we want to talk about it? I don't know. But then I see this headline that comes out today. This is coming in from Vice.com. It says Walmart removes violent video game signage, still sells guns. Which, okay, that's a loaded headline. But
Right.
it says the real retailer is asking employees to take down signage and playable demos of violent video games, as well as hunting videos in the wake of the shootings at 2 of its stores. It's just everything around this sucks, and this isn't. And I want to be really careful to preface this that this isn't like, some platform for us to be like, well, now we can talk about why video games are good, and finally we get to defend video games. Like that seems really gross to try to piggyback that on top of what happened and people lost their lives and stuff. And I know that maybe right now we're on Twitch and we're also like, I know game fans listen to us, so we're maybe preaching to the choir here. Like people who play video games, they get it.
I mean, everyone's looking for a scapegoat, right? Like a justification, a way to try to understand a cause, right? Like,
and I think that's kind of that's where we're at, and it's frustrating because there's so many things circling around. I mean, you can't. Definitely the El Paso one, there was a white nationalist motivation behind that shooting.
Right.
You can point to that. The fact that it seems like there are certain leaders in our country who are afraid to call that out like it is frustrating. But it can't end there. You can't just go, well, all mass shootings are because of racism. Like you can't do that. Like that's not true. They're for lots of different reasons. And I think that's one of those things where people are unwilling to have this conversation. Our president is going out repeating things from his constituents about video games causing it. There's just so much misinformation about it. I don't know what outcome could come from this. Like I don't know that they could actually regulate video games in a way that would affect people too much. But I don't know. Maybe my imagination is lacking.
I mean, I just like the biggest thing with this is like none of the. I mean, I don't think that there's any data that says, hey, these people played a lot of these games. Even like, there's not. That's not something that's coming out about any of the people. It's something that's being spouted from the hip by people with microphones saying, hey, this is what's causing it. The same way that they did back in '99 when Columbine happened. Like, and I mean that was the start of this real large scape type of like media coverage and everything else, because that was the first time there was a big shooting like that. I grew up in that area. I drove by that school every single day. So I mean, I saw what that community is like living through that stuff. And I mean, that was the most ridiculous thing that came out of that, is that these people are blaming the fact that they're listening to Marilyn Manson and playing video games as the reason.
The jury's still out on Manson.
I mean, sure,
that might be a cause. Very few people are going to get that reference.
I know.
I mean, if you asked how does regulation impact that? I mean, the whole rating system for video games was based on the assumption that by creating a rating system, people would know not to buy games with violence or sexual content or other things like that, as a way to keep them from acting out violent tendencies. So, I mean, the whole system of rating of games, came out of that fear.
So here's the thing. Like you're right, and the ESRB exists to try to. I mean that came out around 99 or
94.
Or 94. Okay, so it was a response to games and violence, and they wanted to try to. I don't know, protect kids from seeing that stuff, which is fine. And we all know that parents are going to let kids play whatever game. Like,
I mean, I don't have a problem with more information, right? Like,
yeah, it helps you decide on what you're. I think that we live in a culture, at least in America, where more parents are likely to say, oh, it's just gun violence. Okay, here, play it, Timmy. And then it's like, oh, there's boobs. Oh no, bad Timmy. And I'm not advocating that either are better. One's better than the other. I'm just saying that
you heard it here first, folks.
Timmy likes boobies better than guns. No, I'm just saying that like there is this weird type of arrogance about it that it's like, oh, it's just violence, like whatever. And I'm not saying that, but I think we all, well, maybe not all of us, but to some extent we grew up consuming violent content.
Look at the Flintstones, man. They hit each other over the head with clubs.
Leave it to Jeremy.
What's one of the first games that you play as a kid? Like just like imagining things like Cops and Robbers.
Yeah,
finger guns.
It's cowboys and
Native Americans.
I specifically went the other route there, but I mean it's something that is there's like that whole sense of good and evil, and like if you get that, then you know that there's no reason to ever like even consider going that route. Like it's just one of those things that like it is a clear moral, like you should not do that. And I don't think that somebody playing video games, unless they already have all kinds of other issues that are going on in their life, that's not going to make them turn around and go and do that. The amount of kids that are playing Fortnite right now, if that was something that literally was driving teenagers and kids to go out and try to find a way to get weapons and hurt people, you would have mass chaos in the streets with the amount of people that are playing that game.
I will tell you one thing about Fortnite that I do believe has influenced our children. They dance better. Kids nowadays, they at least have seven.
They try to
They have
dance.
like at least 7 unique dances
they can pull out at any time.
that they can just pull out and be like, oh, that's cool.
They're more idle animations at this point than actual dances, though.
Accurate.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I will say there is a fine line here. I think there is a certain amount, especially in America, of gun fetishization, and I think that does come from games like. any type of game where there's realistic guns. Fortnite, they're very
I don't
cartoony.
think it comes from it. I think
it's part of it. It
part of
adds
it.
to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like there's games like Fortnite where it's like, okay, they're modeled after real life guns, but they're much more cartoony. And then there's games like Call of Duty and Battlefield where it's like got the model on it, and like you are learning exactly what that gun looks like and probably some of how it works.
what the drop rate is at distance.
Yeah,
and,
like PUBG,
Right.
stuff like that. But there is a big bridge to cross here, a big gap between I'm playing a video game with guns
and my thumbs.
and I want to go out and murder people in cold freaking blood. Now, if you're going to be some Fox News, I'm trying to choose my words wisely, person who's going to just, I mean, it doesn't even have to be Fox News. It could be any
of the
news
news
outlet.
outlets.
But if you're going to just be this person who is for one, ignorant about the topic, and then you just come on saying things, and I think Jolliver said in the chat earlier, like he said, "Hey everybody, look over here. This won't hurt voting numbers near as much." And I think he's right. Like this is the dangling keys in front of people that we get every time one of these tragedies happen, is this distraction thing where it's like, oh, let's not talk about it. Now,
I mean, that's a huge part of it, and no one wants to actually talk about it. But I mean, the media, in and of itself, is a huge part of this. Like they drive this because it's the misinformation. It
gives them a talking point. It gives them a scapegoat.
It's the fact that we've got a 24-hour news cycle. So if there's not something that's happening, we got to just dig deeper and deeper and deeper into this. I mean, I like to the point that I'm getting notifications from CNN. Exclusive new video of a shooter who had drinks at a bar with his sister the night before, or like earlier that night, and I'm like, what good does that do anyone? Like to make it that big a deal? Like they may not be putting the name out there of these people.
Yeah, but
that
they're
are doing these
glorifying
things.
it.
They're glorifying it in the fact that it is this 24-hour news cycle, and they're hitting it in the way that they do, and it's something that I mean, again, it started with this last 20 years that we've had these things that have happened, and every time it just becomes this bigger deal that it's now we've got to make a bigger deal out of it because, oh, what are we doing to stop it? And meanwhile it's something that like puts that in front of everybody so that these people that may have issues that they're not getting taken care of get a hold of weapons and just decide, hey, well, I'm going to go out like these guys did because it's going to make an impact in the world in that like twisted way that they're looking at it. And the media itself should be held responsible to some degree, I think, for the fact that we're making this a big deal.
They're proliferating the idea that this is a way to get yourself identified in potentially your lowest point of your life.
It's not about like news anymore. It's about getting clicks. That's all that the media is going after. And so I mean, honestly, if no one would ever like blatantly admit this to you in regards to that, but these are their favorite things to happen because it means that they've got a life cycle of news that they know they're going to be able to hit for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that happened on Saturday.
And it's not, I mean, you say clicks, and you're absolutely right, but it's like it's been around since like the 80s once this 24-hour news cycle started. I mean, it was about advertising. And so now it's about...
Which means it's less about news, it's about commentary.
It's still about ad impressions on a website and maybe some cable news.
Now it's just, hey, now you've got this, and we're going to be able to hit you on TV, on your phone, every website that you go to. I mean, there's going to be something that's going to go back to this.
So, I mean, getting back to kind of the idea of the video games causing these problems, like we said, I said there's fetishism, maybe it brings up maybe video games could spark a curiosity in a person owning a gun, and there's one thing like I will even say like before I ever shot a gun, I was terrified of them. They are scary, and they still were scary when I went to shoot one. Like it's a scary thing to do,
right? Because
you realize you have this thing in your hand that could take your life, take anyone's life around you in an instant. But once you start to understand how they work and you can become more comfortable with them, some of that goes away. And so I think that's another step towards, okay, some of the irrational discussion going out there, maybe kind of dissolving that a little bit, because it seems like people who have no connection to it, who've never fired a gun, don't know how they work.
It's emotion based.
They have a very emotional reaction to it. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that there's no context for them to understand what the gun, how it works, what it's like.
I don't know of any decision made in an emotional vacuum that was the right decision. Like,
no, there isn't one.
There isn't.
Rarely.
You may get lucky, but if you are making a decision based on emotion, on and not that the emotion's not valid, it absolutely is valid, right? But at least I know I've lived long enough to know that I still make decisions in emotional moments, and almost every single time, those decisions were probably the wrong one to make.
Yeah.
You know, and that's but that's so hard to step back and go, how do I take the emotion out of finding a solution?
Yeah. So there's a lot to go around on this conversation. We're not going to cover everything. I mean, it's so divisive, and then when it gets political, it's even worse, because it's about, when it just becomes about guns and not human life anymore, that's a problem.
Well,
but
that's advertising too, right?
Sure,
when it becomes political, it's about, did I make that check mark so that I can use that as a talking point to get reelected,
right?
You know.
And then the other side of that is, when we dehumanize everything, we take out the human aspect of it, and it's just about guns, and then
video games,
or video games, or whatever else they can point to. It just sucks, because like we aren't getting to the real issue. And then you have like these other weird extremes. Like, did you guys see the Neil deGrasse Tyson tweet?
Yeah,
that was going around, where he pretty much just like, he put out all these statistics of other things that kill people more than gun violence.
Yeah, and people went nuts on him.
Well, they should have. Like, it's pointless. It doesn't.
I know you retweeted it. It's okay, Jeremy.
I
saw that come through.
Both sides are wrong.
But the fact that he puts this out there is counterintuitive to the discussion.
It's not the. I mean, if that's something that you're going to bring up when you are months removed from something like this, fine. Like, if that's a part of a conversation, fine. But you're putting that out days
in the height
and
of
he
the
went
emotional.
Back and he said, you know, I thought that maybe this would be something that would be helpful, because he's a scientific thinking type of person. So putting something out there, it sounded like it was on brand for him, and yet it sounded entirely tone deaf. And he like later that day said, "Hey, I put that out there. That was a wrong decision. I thought I was going to be helping, and I hurt, and I apologize."
Well, and it's fine, but it's one of those things where people do this every time.
Yeah.
Every time. It's not just him. I was kind of surprised to see him make that choice.
I was very surprised
like,
when I read that. I was like, holy crap.
But so it's the thing is, like, you're discrediting the way all those reasons people die are, that they're on a different level of death. Like, that's not, it's not a thing where you're just like, he's talking about heart disease. Sure, if I choose to eat myself to death,
it's because the emotion's not there. The scare factor's not there.
Well, it's still scary when you're in the moment of it. Like, if that happens to you or a loved one. But the fact that this is just a random dude out there who's coming to mow you down in a Walmart while you're doing your grocery shopping, like, I get it. We could all die at any.
It's a fear thing.
No, but there's a.
What do you mean? There's a fear thing.
There's a
It is a
distinct
fear thing.
difference,
It's a fear,
Jeremy.
of
There's a
course,
distinct difference
that's what I'm
between
saying.
something that is like it's
I'm
a
not arguing with you
health-related
guys.
thing.
I'm agreeing.
I mean, but like a health-related thing, like, we all know that our bodies are gonna betray us at one point or another. Like, the fact that you could drive out of here tonight after we're done with this show and have somebody that misses a stop sign or something and hits your car, and then it's over. Like, those are things that happen. But it's such a different thing to.
But I want to use that what you
because
said.
they're normalized.
But no, because we used to not even care about seatbelts. Like, now, seatbelts are a big deal. People actually wear them because change happens. People saw that there was a problem, and they started to enforce change. And that's the thing is, like, yes, Kyle's definitely right. Like, a seatbelt don't always save your life, but they save your life way more than they don't save your life. And so that's something that was enforced. People started to, car manufacturers got behind it.
But you could also look at drunk driving, right? it's illegal, but it doesn't stop drunk drivers.
Absolutely.
Right.
But there are systems in place to try to prevent it.
Agreed.
Where when the gun thing comes up,
Well, that's the
there
problem,
is
right?
no-
They look at things like video games.
instead of looking at it and
Instead
go,
of
hey,
going-
there are things. The NRA doesn't want anybody to do anything about it.
But also they're only listen. But they're also looking at it as a gun problem. It's a mental health problem. It's a social,
Right,
the
okay.
24-hour news cycle problem.
But see what you're doing the same thing though by like the video game thing. You're not talking about the issue people need you to talk about right now.
all of those are important issues.
They are, but they're
And they're
But there
all
are-
associated.
but there are plenty of
they're
people that
all
have those
associated.
same-
Every single one of them are
There
associated.
are plenty
to
of
this scenario.
There are plenty of people that have mental illness that do not have any inkling of trying to go after and do something like
Kyle,
this.
and take that point and change it with guns. There are plenty of gun owners who
Right,
wouldn't
but
go
all
out and murder
but
someone.
all it takes is one person that goes and walks into the store that you're in.
For
where you-
either case, that's the point.
No, but that's not the. I mean, the difference is mental illness is something that is around that affects a lot of people. The fact that you have people that can get a hold of weapons and decide they're going to just go out and mow a bunch of people down, like there needs to be some changes with it. There needs to be, hands down. This happens too frequently, and it's to the point that it's like the only
But
reason.
why? What sets that situation apart from the millions of gun owners who don't and would never do that? Is it the gun?
But see, this is you're making it about you. That's
No,
the
I'm
problem
not.
with it.
No,
yes,
I'm
you
not.
are. You're saying
No, I'm saying it's more than
I'm a
the
gun owner, so
I'm
like
not saying
what-
it's not the gun. It's more than the gun.
Right, Jeremy, that's right. But what I'm saying is it's more than the car. It's more than a lot of things. But there has to be their conversation has to be allowed. There cannot
I agree.
there cannot just be these two parties who are just going to fight each other all the time, backed by lobbyists spending tons of money to promote their stupid, naive, dumb issues.
But
that-
doing things like banning
It's not
black
about
guns
it's not
isn't the
about
solution
banning.
either.
It's not about banning. No one says that's the solution. That's the erratic extremist solution. That's the same solution as saying
Okay.
video games
You're
are
right. So-
causing it.
Right.
That's saying. So here's the thing: is when
So
people
right
are,
now,
when
what
peop-
are they talking about?
When
They're
people
talking about
are
red flag laws.
When people are hurting because of these tragedies, we need to talk about the issue at hand. And what's you're right. They're making an emotional they're having an emotional reaction, but we need to address that. We need to talk through this with people. We need to at least entertain the conversation that maybe we could take steps that could help when people are buying guns.
and I'm agreeing with you.
And that's what I'm trying to say. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And so when you start to make the conversation about everything else in the time of tragedy, it makes all those things like very reductive. So I'm saying that you have to have these conversations about what there is obviously a problem. How can these people? How can a person who is like? There's got to be a step taken to at least just go, hey, maybe this person shouldn't have a gun. Like maybe this person.
but also maybe this person needs help.
right. But what are you going to do?
So,
I mean,
but that's not a gun conversation, is what I'm saying.
But it can be because if
Right,
they're
there's-
able
okay.
to get a hold of guns,
there
like
was there was like
an issue.
like right after this shooting there was like a spree of stabbings that happened in California.
Yeah,
like, and that
yesterday,
nobody
I
really talked
believe.
about, where someone like I think like four
Like-
people
like
died
four
or
people
something.
died or
Yeah,
were like
and,
attacked with
so
some stabbing.
that's gonna be that didn't get much coverage, but that's also like a great platform for people to jump on, right? Oh well, you can't. We're gonna ban knives. You're gonna ban butter knives. I can't put butter on my biscuits. Like I mean, that's the type of argument they're gonna have. You're right. There is a mental health problem,
Absolutely.
but we have to have a rational discussion about putting guns in people's hands and how that works. And is there small things that we could do that's like a seatbelt, that seatbelts save lives? Is there small things that we could do? I'm not even crazy enough to say, oh, well, let's put like bio locks on them so your fingerprint unlocks it. Like, cause I know that's a fail place. When you're in a heated situation, you need your gun. Like that's a fail.
But
failure,
what I'm still
point of
saying
failure.
is you're to isolate it as a gun conversation. To me, is no different than isolating it as a video game problem. It's taking away the blame from the person
Right.
and
but
putting it on an inanimate object that we can blame and it.
Yeah, but
it's
there's a
thing.
there's
It's not
there's a difference,
person.
Jeremy.
So it's
there's a big difference with that, because if
They're
you're talking about people that play video games, there is a large amount of people that play video games that do not own guns, myself included.
and there's a lot of gun owners who wouldn't kill someone.
Well,
It's
obviously,
the same
there's
argument.
a lot of
it's the
no,
exact
it's
same
not,
argument.
Jeremy,
Yes, it
because
is.
because in order for this to happen, you have to have a gun, regardless of whether you are the
This
owner or
specific
whatnot.
type act
For
of
this
violence,
to
that is
happen,
correct.
you have to have
this
a gun.
specific type of violence.
Therefore,
But-
you
but-
can't separate that, Jeremy. You can't
look at the
separate
guy
that.
who drove his van through a crowd of people and mowed them all down.
Sure, that's.
I
but,
mean-
how often is that happening though? Like, I mean, that's the thing. If you want to go and look at something like that,
The
that's
reason
part of the
you
reason
don't
the
think
knife
it's
stabbing
happening
isn't as big
is
a deal.
because it's not as popular in the news as this.
But when is the last time that you heard somebody ran somebody over with a bunch of vans?
It was like a couple of months ago.
with a bunch of fans.
No, it was a couple of months ago.
when a couple
In
of months
Italy.
ago. No.
Yes.
In Italy. Okay. So we're talking. I mean, you're talking about something
Where
that,
they don't have access to as many
Jeremy,
guns.
but what is it going to hurt to implement some laws that can help people get
I'm
gun-
saying you're right. We
keep
should have the
people-
conversation. I'm saying,
But
What
you're-
is it? What is it going to hurt though?
But when you're
what
trying
is
to
it?
compare it,
I'm
No,
not
hold-
saying it's gonna hurt.
I know, but then why do you have to keep deflecting? Because it makes it sound
What
like
do you
you're,
mean deflecting? I'm
you
saying
keep- you
there's
keep
more
trying to say that it's
conversation.
not- you keep
I
saying
think
it's not
people
about
wanna
the
avoid
point,
those
though.
other conversations.
You're
No, they
saying it's
don't,
not
though.
about the
Yeah, they
guns just
do.
as much as it's not about the video
every
games.
time
and
this
that's not
happens,
at all the
every time
case.
this happens, there's a cycle of thoughts and prayers, mental illness, and then
And
we
nothing
forgot about it.
happens.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So they always are talking about mental illness. It's not a thing that they don't want to talk about. They bring it up every single time.
But what gets done about that?
I don't know why did friggin' Reagan shut down all the government-funded mental institutions? I don't know. Like that's the thing is like they're all
So
the
Council Tucky get its nickname.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying there are factors here where all I'm trying to say is can we please as a society can we start to have civil conversations that are moderate in the way they are handled, where we don't have to just deflect every time. If I want to talk about something, so here's my point. I'm not saying you're wrong, Jeremy, and I don't take me that way. I'm not trying to say that mental illness is not a factor because it 100% is. But what I'm trying to say is every time that someone wants to have a conversation about guns, let them have the conversation without making it about video games, mental illness, or something else.
I
let them
understand
have
that.
the conversation about guns.
So
and
let's
get
have a
past that.
conversation about guns.
Well, I'm not talking about. I'm saying in the broader sense. I'm not saying right now. I'm just saying like.
Well, I mean, but that's important, right? Like you guys know what the red flag laws are, right? That now Trump is starting to push, right?
I'm not super familiar. No.
Okay, so the concept behind red flag laws, which there's like 17 states that have something similar to them, is basically to say that police and or family members and or anyone, depending California, anyone can, but can go to a police station and say, I believe this person may cause harm to someone. Go into their house and take all their guns, and the police go into their house and take all their guns based on someone's word. What that does is take away certain things we have in our country, like individual freedom, right to due process, and all things like that, right? And so even the conversation around guns, what's happening is the conversation is turning into trying to find solutions that are violating the way of life we have in the United States.
Right, but you're sounding like a Fox pundit who's like
What are you
trying to say that okay, this is I'm not trying to insult what you're saying because what you're saying is right, but that's the problem is if you're going to try to just turn this topic about you're setting a precedent and then you're going to take away other liberties, you're setting a precedent, it turns into this like fear-mongering conversation about the government's going to take everything
But that's
from
a
us.
valid part of the conversation. If
But this
the one-sided solution
the
is
mom
to
of
do
the
that.
guy in El Paso called
She
the
literally
police,
called the
and
police
said,
and
"Hey,
said-
my son has these assault rifles. I'm
Yeah.
worried he's going to hurt somebody."
And the public school knew about it for years.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so where does this? Why is there nothing in place? This maybe the red flags may not be the solution. Maybe it's too heavy-handed, but still there is some middle ground here where if someone is concerned that someone there are so many
no,
times.
I agree.
Every time
I
this
don't have
happens,
the answer either.
Every time
but
there are
you're
these,
right. There needs to be something.
There are red flags. There are things that people are like, "Hey, this could be a problem," and nothing is done. And why is that? Like,
and I would say to use the example that we used earlier, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would have thought and probably made their voices very loud about their freedom and their ability to choose what they want to do when the laws for buckling your seatbelt came into play.
And they still do, and people still choose to break that law.
That freedom. Yeah,
I know a guy who goes to the dealer and has him deactivate the beep
there's
that
a
goes
big
off
difference.
when you don't buckle up. I know, Jeremy.
There is a big difference,
but
it's an example.
It's two-part though. Yes, it's you're seatbelting yourself in, and that's your choice. You can either seatbelt yourself or you not. But it is not your choice when someone hits you on the road. True. It was your choice to buckle up. It is not your choice to whether you get hit or not.
You're absolutely right. So but what I'm saying, the difference is there's a difference between restricting someone's personal freedom that has zero impact on other people's lives. Your seatbelt is only
zero?
on your life. That's the only thing that impacts. Okay? That's like choosing to smoke cigarettes, choosing to do anything to yourself. Okay?
Right. No,
suicide's illegal, but who are you going to prosecute, right? Because there's a difference between stopping something that or creating a law around something that protects someone from their own choice versus protecting the greater populace against someone else's bad choice. So using the seatbelt thing actually is a bad example in that scenario. Drunk driving, that's a much better scenario because you're choosing to drive drunk, which potentially impacts other people's lives, right? Versus the seatbelt, which impacts only your own. That's I guess where I'm saying that's nuanced maybe in some people's opinion, but I think it's an important distinction.
No, my example was if that is something that is a law that is passed to provide more safety for people, is that they have to buckle their seatbelt. The idea of having somebody that if there is somebody that there is a concern that somebody is going to go out with weapons and go out and hurt people. Like that's the same thing as like a wellness check. Like there should be more of that kind of stuff that's going on. And I mean, I don't know if maybe some of the issue is that there's just not the staff of police officers to be able to handle that in certain areas, or what the actual issue is there. But I mean, that's essentially what I'm saying with that example of the car is there are things that could be done that can help with these types of situations and help prevent that, because you have people that see these things that are happening, like the mother in El Paso who is saying, hey, this is something that, I'm scared my son's going to do something. And if no one's listening or doing anything, it's yelling in the vacuum of space, and people are still getting hurt.
Okay.
Wow, he was right. That's when Jeremy wasn't listening because he was typing.
Yeah,
it's partially true.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, in the chat they're talking about we should take away the law for being 21 to drink alcohol, so everyone can do that. Why are we discriminating against young people? My comment on that was, there's many countries that don't have that law and don't have the same alcoholic problems that we have in the United States. So there's something to be said about overregulation.
So you're saying they're overregulating alcohol?
I'm saying that is something that you could point as an example of overregulation based on saying that, oh, we're doing that to protect children. But then again, we have, like, if you look at the numbers compared to, a country that has a much lower or no drinking age restrictions that don't have an alcoholic problem. And the reason for that is it's a societal problem. It's an issue, not necessarily, the laws normally reflect society. They don't go the other way around. Laws don't define society. Society defines laws. And so the laws are always post-societal change or post whatever is happening in society. And so to me, the argument on laws is one step behind the problem, where the conversation should be about what is causing these societal issues to happen to begin with.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you real quick on this.
Okay.
And I'm not wrong. I mean, you're not wrong about the video game. I'm not video games. Wow.
Societal.
The gun.
Yeah.
Like the issue at hand with mental illness. If you're saying that, what?
Technically, red flag laws. I mean, mental illness would be one of the reasons that you could enact.
Yeah.
Red flag. Red
okay.
flag.
Beside the red flag laws, What are you saying though? If you're saying it's not about the guns, it's about individual responsibility. What does that look like to you then? What if that's your argument? Then what does that mean for us as a society? How can we fix it? What would you say?
We were already just talking about how the news media is partially responsible because of the way that they glorify these types of acts of violence. There should be some understanding of that, and in my opinion, that if there was less publicity of those types of events, there would be less copycats of those types of events, which the El Paso one actually stated in his manifesto that he put on 4chan that it was a copycat killing. It was based on I forget which one it was, one of the ones a couple of years ago. That's where he got the idea to do it. So that even in this exact moment directly reflects to the person's mental validation of his actions was partially generated by the fact that someone else did it and it was publicized.
Sure, but you're saying we regulate what the news covers.
Well,
Right.
There's a difference between news and commentary, and unfortunately, our
Right.
world has gone so far away from actual news, where everything is opinion, which is commentary, and not actually news.
Right.
There's maybe a granular piece of news.
Okay.
But
that's
the bulk of it's
not my point.
news.
That's not my
Right.
point. I'm saying, where does it stop? Like, you can't. Are you suggesting that they regulate news networks to where they aren't on that?
No.
Okay.
That's
well, then that's what I'm asking.
so, you're right. So
where do you
if
go?
Here's why. So if you were to regulate those, that violates the First Amendment.
Jeremy, I know.
The
I'm
other
asking you
argument
what the
is you violate-
solution. What's the solution? Don't tell me what. I know all these answers. What's the solution? I don't know. I'm saying if you're
I don't think I can define a solution.
If you're
in a vacuum.
deflecting
That's
from
what
the
I'm
gun
saying.
argument or the gun discussion, then what's the solution? How can everyone always deflect from it and not have a solution?
I don't believe I'm deflecting from it. I'm saying, listen, in order to even make change there is things about our basis of our society that we have to first decide as a society that we want to change. And we're not there. It's not something that is even capable in the United States today.
I think that there's a large problem in the fact that there is a large population of the United States that has guns, that sees things like this and thinks, oh, they're coming for my guns, and they're going to take them away, or they want to regulate more than they already are, and it's violating my rights when I've done nothing wrong. And I think that's the biggest hurdle that we have to get past.
Why is that a hurdle?
Because there
Are you
obviously
saying
needs
that,
to be a
well,
change.
if it's
of
a hurdle,
some
you're saying
kind.
that shouldn't be true.
That what shouldn't be? I'm saying in order to even have the conversation, and even think about it, because the second anything like this happens, the NRA and all of the large amounts of gun owners, they immediately put up their defenses. The wall is up, and the conversation is, no, you're not going to take away my guns. You're not going to regulate anything else. That's not what the issue is.
And you will
there's
always
no
hit,
other,
and that's what I'm saying. In our society, you will always hit that wall. And so what I'm saying is, we need to have a conversation around something that we can find common ground on. And the real question we're all trying to answer is, how do we stop these types of acts of violence? Right? I mean, isn't that the end goal?
I mean,
it's not.
You
the
can
end
make
goal is
the
not
argument,
less
though,
guns, right?
But I mean, there's all kinds of statistics.
How do we stop this?
There's all kinds of statistics about other countries that don't have the same access to guns that we have here in America, and they don't have the same kind of issue. I mean, and you look at the country that we live in right now. Okay, I grew up, and I remember hearing people talking about the stuff that was going on in the Middle East with Israel and Jordan, and all the killings and things like that were going on there. And you'd think, man, that's a place that I would never want to live in. There are literally people that, as they are traveling, there are warning signs that are popping up before they travel internationally to the United States, saying, hey, there are dangerous things that are happening here after the shootings this last weekend. Be cautious. In a way that's just an unprecedented level. Like that to me was the fact that there are other countries outside of the United States of America that are saying, hey, this may be a dangerous place for you to travel. Be on guard in a way that's never been delivered before by traveling bodies. I mean, there is something that is wrong that needs to be addressed, and I think that
and a lot of that though is based on emotional bias.
I mean, but what do you mean by that? That's a fact. That's something that was put
You're right.
out there.
You're right, and I know that people don't like talking about the statistics in the emotional state that we're based on the we're talking about the tweet and all that stuff, but that is important to the conversation. To look at that and go, yeah, but is it what we think it is?
Yeah, but my question to people that are gun owners and that are worried about having maybe more regulation that is coming down on them overall, is it really that important to you that you have all of the gun freedoms that you have right now and people continue to have these things happen and people dying because we're not wanting to have a conversation about whether or not we can regulate guns to a certain degree that will stop these things from happening?
And that's what I'm saying. I don't believe the gun conversation is what stops it from happening.
It is, though, because
it
there's
isn't.
Because
that's an opinion.
No, but it is.
It's
Jeremy,
not factually
it is.
based. It's
Jeremy,
not.
it is because you're the way that you are talking and completely deflecting away from guns is completely different, and it's that defensive. I'm a gun owner is what you're saying, and I don't think that I should have to pay the penalty for the fact that this has happened.
No,
that's what the argument is.
No, that's not what the argument is. I know that's what you want it to be, but I'm saying, listen, the answer we all want to get to is how do we stop these acts of mass violence from happening? One potential answer that people have is stop having access to guns. And I'm saying, and I think a lot of other people are also saying, and the reason there's no traction on the gun debate is because there are a lot of people who believe what I'm saying, agree with me, okay? It's maybe less talking heads in the emotional vacuum that we're in right now because of the tragedy that happened. But the point is, there is still the greater populace in the United States that believes the restriction of freedom is not of equal value to the potential loss of life in these tragic events. That's just the way it is. And if you're going to have a conversation, the conversation is either how do we stop these types of mass violence from happening. Taking guns away means it won't happen with a gun. You're right. That's a fact.
But
that doesn't change
what I said.
That doesn't change the social
I never
construct
said
that makes this thing.
I never
makes
said we
someone
need to
want
take
to
away
do
all
that.
guns. And
You
that's
see what
I mean when you're saying take away guns, there's a defensive stance that you are putting up here and a defensive wall that you're putting up. I'm saying there may be regulations that need to be put on here. Maybe there are some types of guns that need to have less access for general public. I don't know. I'm not
black ones.
I'm not a gun expert. I don't claim to know everything about guns, but I'm saying
most of the people who say that
of the
aren't gun experts. That's the point. They don't know what they're talking about, and so they say that.
Jeremy, what I'm saying is there are guns that people have that they have the ability to go out and do the kinds of things that happened this weekend. And really, when it boils down to it, do we really need to have some of these guns out there? That's the question that I'm asking. I mean,
and the response to that is we don't live in a country where need is the basis for the type of regulation you're talking about. I think Jolliver in the chat. I haven't been reading everything he said, but actually one point that is that I think he's hit something very important on is that we live in a country that's based on excess, and that's true, absolutely true, and that is and that's probably a conversation that's also important to have. But listen, so you're right. Access to a gun means there's a greater chance of violence by way of using that gun. However, if we're going to ask the question, how do we stop these things from happening, or what causes these things to happen, the gun doesn't cause it to happen, right? The gun is, unfortunately, the available tool that is potentially too available. I definitely agree with that, and I think there are things that we can talk about around that. But if we're talking about how do we stop the violence, it's not only a gun issue. And I think too often that's what we want to. That's where the conversation stops.
Right. There is an easy button aspect to that conversation where I think certain people would want to believe, get rid of the big scary guns and it's all going to go away. And I think that's just not true. That's not how it's working. And
obviously, these people are hurting individuals.
Sure.
Potentially have. They have a switch that changed their moral compass. There's, and I obviously don't know enough about causation of, what causes someone to do that, because I honestly can't understand it. Why can't I understand it? Because I don't have a desire to do that. I don't know what that's like. And obviously we can't have an educated conversation around that because we can't, because we don't know, and because we're not people who have studied and understand people who are in those situations.
Yeah, but I guess my concern, and I think to one of the things that Jolliver put in the chat too, is that it's not just this conversation in this regard. It's also the fact that you've got the NRA out there that is literally funding our government to not allow any kind of conversation to happen with these things because they're lobbying for what they want to have happen.
You could talk about that with big pharma's doing the same thing around those types of regulations.
I mean, there's all kinds of things that are wrong and that are not right. But
lobbyists. Can we stop
that's
lobbying?
That's a great idea.
That's it, right
there. That's a big problem, and I think the NRA is bullcrap. I don't care. I'm a gun owner.
Also
I still
agree.
think the NRA is bullcrap. I think that they're a bunch of bullies, and they try to earn votes from people that are idiots. Because there are people like Kyle expressed. I don't think Jeremy's that way, but I think, Kyle, you're right. I do think there are people that, like you expressed, who are immediately defensive that, you're going to take my guns away, you can't take my guns away, blah, 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 blah.
No one's saying we're taking all the guns away.
And we're not taking any guns away. Like, you don't need to take guns away. You just need to understand that there should be systems in place to help make sure that maybe there's just a small thing. It's not going to fix it, but it's at least showing that we're trying to help and resolve the issue. We're trying to put in a system that maybe runs a mental wellness check through on these people that are buying guns to make sure, like, hey, maybe we need to have mental evaluations of people before they get the right to purchase a gun.
100%.
I'm a gun owner.
By the way, I agree with those.
I'm
things.
a gun owner, and I'll be fine with that.
I'm not arguing from the don't take our guns away standpoint. That's not what I'm.
I think
I'm trying to not have that conversation.
There's too many people, I think, that when the gun conversation comes up, that's the instinct is they're trying to take my guns away, so nothing that you can say is going to change
and
my
you're
mind.
Right.
It should be exactly the way that it is.
And that's a rhetoric that isn't welcome on this show, and I don't think any of us believe that.
Right.
And so that's the thing is like that's something there's always going to be extremists, and we can't deal with it. We need to change it.
Right.
Here's the thing. We got to wrap this up. I want to say one thing real quick before we wrap it all up. Like, I think people get frustrated and they ask, like, what can you do? What can we do? There's like, we aren't in the government. We can't solve this. I think the one thing that we can all do that's like super important and also hard and maybe something we don't do, and it goes to Jeremy's point, it goes to all of our points, but it's one of those things is like be available in people's lives. Like, ask people how they're doing, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Like, if you know someone's having a hard time with something, like, don't just, it's really hard to do that. And sometimes it's awkward and it's scary and it's weird and you don't want to do it. But if you see
Care
signs,
about people.
if you see signs, and don't just, I'm not saying go to random strangers, but we all have a circle of friends and family. And if you notice something,
now don't also say that it's not the mother's fault.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying, like, you're right. We have the onus to look at our circle of friends and our circle of influence.
No one's saying it's the mother's fault. She tried to tell the police.
I know. I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I was trying to end it, and then you jump in with it's not the mother's fault. Like, obviously, it's not the freaking mother's fault. I just didn't want it to be like, it's your fault if you don't do those things.
No,
but it is. It is. That's where it is our responsibility to be involved in people's lives. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. I'm just saying we have a responsibility as human beings to care for one another.
Right.
No matter where you are, no matter what your circumstances are, don't isolate yourself. If you're feeling isolated, if you feel like you are helpless or you feel these urges that are maybe violent, like reach out to somebody. Don't be afraid to do that. And if you witness something that's a little off with someone, a friend, a family, someone you can talk to, do it. I think that we live in a society now where it feels safer to just not address the issue and just walk away and be quiet. All I'm saying is, like, be involved in each other's lives. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
All right. We need to wrap this up. It's one of those conversations that I think is good to have. It's not always fun. But we're not always about fun. Sometimes we just have to have a serious conversation. Thanks Kuipers for hanging in there. I'm like looking over and I know he's probably exhausted at this point because he's just sitting back there like, okay, these guys need to shut up. Thanks to everybody for listening and like also putting up with us as we have this conversation. I hope this, if nothing else, it's cathartic a little bit just to air these opinions, get them out there. We need to have these discussions, and they're not happening enough. They're just they're all very hyperbolic around this issue. So it's good to have down to earth conversations. Before we go though, I want to thank excuse me, our Patreon peeps. Sorry, I've got this like nagging cough. I don't know what it is. Patreon peeps. These are all lovely individuals who donate every month of their own money. It's a real pleasure. It's a real honor. We thank you wherever you are, whoever you are. I know Jay Oliver is up there, Shining Patreon Coral and God of Atheists. They help us out. If you're interested in doing this, if you're interested in being one of these cool dudes, go to patreon.com/meninatub. You can
It's been a while
subscribe.
since we've had another name on this list.
Yeah, get another name on there.
Maybe we could get another name. Could be you.
You could donate at any level. Just get, even if it's just $1, gives us a little more morale boost around here.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. Thanks for all your input in the chat tonight. I really apologize. There was a lot going on in there. So if we missed something, didn't address it, I'm sure it was good content for people who were in there, and for us, we'll go back and read it. But we do not have any more time tonight. So
Jolliver coming in hot at the end. I'm a lobbyist of Men in a Tub.
Woo! There you go. That's good stuff.
Thank you.
Hey, also, I would like to encourage anybody who's watching, if there was any point that we made tonight in this topic that you think is something you could use to help start a conversation with people, like clip it and share that on social media.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're like anybody that people should take advice from.
We don't.
But at least
we don't probably have any of the answers.
At least it maybe could demonstrate to people like, hey, here's some dudes trying to, like, they're not killing each other, they're not getting mad and just yelling.
I still love Jeremy,
but we're having a civil discourse about something that's important in this culture. Share these clips. I would really appreciate it. We'd all appreciate that. It's a little bit selfish, but it's also like could go a long ways to help people feel
Start a conversation.
like they can have a conversation.
I know you love me, Jeremy.
We the people, we can make a difference despite how helpless you feel. That does it for our show tonight, everyone. Thank you for listening wherever you might have tuned in, whether that's live or later on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you listen to fine podcasts like these. We really do appreciate your support.
Give us 5 stars.
Give us all the stars. If you're listening on
4
iTunes,
stars
go
if we're not
review
quite
us.
5.
Let the people know we're the greatest. If nothing else, give us 5 stars for Kuipers.
Yeah.
That's
Kuipers
true.
puts
He
up with a
deserves-
lot of crap.
He puts up with a lot. So he didn't even, he's just, he's back
got his
there.
Fire Emblems conversation.
Yeah, that's good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Until then, woo.